right here on the Rich Eisen Show in his 12th season as general manager of the Houston Rockets. Daryl Morey, how are you, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on, Rich. I've been an admirer of yours as well. So thank you, Twitter.
Yes, it's good for something.
Yes, yeah. It's I mean, I always learn so much about politics on Twitter. I get so much informed debate. It's really, really helpful to debate people on Twitter. I've found.
Well, a lot of people say, Daryl, that NBA Twitter is the most entertaining Twitter that is out there.
NBA Twitter is good. It's politics Twitter that needs to be avoided at all costs, I think.
Well, I guess there's a filter for that, or calling into the Rich Eisen Show at this very moment. It's a good way to avoid all of that. So I'm glad that you have called in. What are you up to these days? What does Daryl Morey do for the Houston Rockets at this very time of year?
Right now, I'm sitting in a bus outside so I can get quiet background at practice.
Appreciate that.
We're buzzing here. I know everyone says everyone's happy in October, but the buzz here is we're very confident at this point. We're better than last year, and obviously we're going to need to prove that. But a lot of the new folks we brought in are really showing us stuff, and we're excited. We got to do it when the rubber meets the road. But we're buzzing, and the phones are buzzing too. I mean, it's pretty active, to your point, NBA Twitter right now, given camp just started. Usually not a much buzz, but there's a lot of trade buzz in the air.
I was about to say that. I kind of want to hit that with you, and I know that it's probably a sensitive subject, but word is that you are in on the Jimmy Butler sweepstakes. Is that a fact?
Yeah, so I can't really directly address it, but I will say, obviously, whenever there's players potentially available that can help, the Houston Rockets, it's my job to explore. But I would say we love our team, so we're pretty focused on what we got, but what else am I doing except trying to explore everything? That's really what they pay me to do.
Well, then let me ask you this question. Based on what you might be able to talk about, do you think Jimmy Butler is, in fact, available? Do you think that they do really want to get rid of him up there in Minnesota, if you can address that?
Yeah, I hate to – unfortunately, the NBA rules are so I can't even I can't talk about players on other teams. So
okay.
I apologize. I can't make news today, Rich.
No.
I wish I could. Maybe I could go against you in the football, combine or whatever. That might make news.
I see. That would be great. So to use the analytics of this, it's full Blutarski 0.0 of you being able to address the situation. That's the analytics.
I think I could out ineptitude you. I think I could set new lows to take you out of that. So.
Okay, so in terms of the guys that you did acquire that are there under contract, you told the Houston Chronicle that a high percentage of the decisions you made this offseason were in mind to beat the Warriors. How does that all compute with the guys that you got?
Yeah, we know that if we're going to win the title, it's almost for sure we're going to have to beat Golden State. Obviously, we got to beat a lot of other teams, but they've won 3 out of the last 4 to the road. The road goes through Golden State. There's no spinning that, and so James Ennis, Carmelo Anthony, Michael Carter Williams. They're all. Brandon Knight, we haven't had a chance to see yet. Marquise Chris is doing well in camp. They're all fitting in quickly, and we're excited about them. I would say both maybe Melo and James Ennis are both really standouts early here in camp.
Why are you so open about talking about the Warriors, Daryl?
I think it's weird to not talk about them. Rich, if you asked a fan on the street, and you get to do that a lot, I think, and you said, what should the Houston Rockets be doing? They would say, well, geez, the Warriors are so good. They got to beat. It's almost silly to not talk about it, right? They are a historically great team. Maybe we'll go down as the best NBA team ever. So it seems. To me, it's just you'd have to be in complete GM speak, coach speak, not talk about the Warriors and talk about how we have to beat them.
So, what do you think is the way to beat them, Daryl? Based on what you have, your
Well,
analytics
we would
and
have
your
done it
thoughts?
if we had. I think we're going at it the only way possible, which is you've got to be able to space the floor, shoot the three. Got to be able to be in transition. You have to have players who can guard multiple positions and stay with. Coach Kurt does a great job, and their offensive system is a lot of movement. You got to have guys who can play and defend those. So we feel like we've got the best approach, but frankly, obviously, we haven't done it. So, but as soon as someone does it, we'll try and copy that if that happens. But hopefully, that's us. Hopefully, everyone's copying us next year.
What about the amassing of bona fide all-star players, the so-called super team?
Yeah, no, that's a huge part of it. I mean, and to go back to what we talked about earlier, when potentially there are players available, my job, my staff's job is to look at that for that reason. The only way to beat the USA basketball team is to, have the USA basketball 1A, have the 1B team and have the 1A team, right? The team in practice. So, I mean, yeah, we need to have as much talent as possible, and sometimes that doesn't always work, but it really gives us a chance, whereas not having a highly talented squad, you may as well pack it in.
Daryl Morey here on the Rich Eisen Show. Do you think if Chris Paul's hamstring had not given way, you'd have knocked off the Warriors last year?
We do believe that. Obviously, that's unfair to the Warriors because, they could have beat us with Chris healthy, and they had Iguodala out, and it would have been nice given they have, arguably four of the top players in the league, and we, I think, are pretty comfortable that we have two of the top players in the league. It would have been nice if the injury luck had gone the other way, where we're at least knocking them down to three guys instead of us going from 2 to 1. So yeah, no, we do believe that we would have done that, but injuries are part of the game. So I mean, they won it, and we're chasing them down this year again.
Were Chris Paul and Harden at all part of the acquisition of Carmelo? Daryl?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I think has helped make us successful is, at the end of the day, the NBA teams are all about your top players, and they've got to set the culture. They've got to be the ones who really set the tone for everything. And to do that, they've got to feel like they're part of everything. So I have discussions with them about everything, just like I do with our head coach. At the end of the day, obviously, myself and and Tillman, we're making the final calls, but James, Chris, Coach D'Antoni, they're absolutely critical to any acquisition we make. And if they don't feel like it's going to fit, we may still do it, but it's pretty rare. I mean, we want everyone on the same page, everyone bought in, and that's been a big part of our success.
Well, one way to prove about buy-in is to potentially sacrifice for the larger good. The Carmelo bench questions were shut down by him in Oklahoma City. What about there in Houston? Is it possible he comes off as a sixth man, Daryl?
That's up to Coach. Coach is still figuring out what he thinks will work best. I mean, one of the great things about our season last year, why we were the 1 seed and 65 wins and a hamstring away from winning it, is every player on our team was willing to take any role, and that's true again this year. And Coach is going to figure out the best rotations, but no matter what, guys like Eric Gordon, who came off the bench last year, Ryan Anderson was our starter, came off the bench last year. I mean, we've got good players coming off the bench. We got good players starting, and a big part of our success is every player has been willing to do anything. And so Melo may start, Melo may come off the bench. That'll be up to Coach D'Antoni, but we have not figured that out yet.
So what was your reaction when you looked down at Twitter or what have you the day that LeBron signed with the Lakers and you knew he was coming to your conference, Daryl Morey?
Yeah. Obviously someone every team would love to have. So just first thing is obviously now we no longer have a chance at him, but he's an amazing player, and so we're it's going to make it that much harder in the West. At least one player went east, and in Kawhi. So at least we balanced it a little. But LeBron's obviously LeBron, and it's going to be another tough out in the Western Conference. I mean, I'm used to it though. I mean, my whole career, I've been in the league. I came in 2002, so the West has been the best conference ever since I've been in the league.
So did you?
Pretty normal.
I'm just trying to pick up. Did you think you had a shot at getting LeBron? Were you ready to pitch, or did you try to pitch?
I mean, we go for everybody. We're not. Yeah, I mean, we're not picky. we go for everybody. I mean, if you're a talented player, we want you at the Rockets. We feel like if we get a chance to talk to you, we get a chance for you to understand what we're trying to do, that we've got a real shot. And so obviously we strike out a lot, but we also swing a lot, and every once in a while we hit one out like we did with James and Chris, and hopefully guys down the road.
So just again to continue that metaphor, did you get in the batter's box? Did you take a hack at getting LeBron?
You never know. You never know. We weren't. I don't think we were really in the mix like we would like to be. I don't. Yeah. In this case, I don't think we were. We were sort of. We were due up. I think when he went somewhere else.
On deck in the hole. I mean, where were you?
Yeah, I think we were on deck with a couple teams. Yeah, something like that.
Daryl Morey here on the Rich Eisen Show. All right, Daryl. So, are you in a fantasy football league? Are you?
Of course, man. I feel people ask me all the time. They're like, your job's so hard and everything. I try to explain. Well, first off, my job is not hard. My job is you have to do it well, but it's obviously a dream. And then second, if people play fantasy football, fantasy baseball, it's not very different. It's about making very solid decisions. Obviously, you got to be really good with people and things like that you don't need to do with fantasy. But in terms of like the decision making and understand scarcity and working trades and all that all is actually more analogous than anyone else will actually usually admit. And so it's actually one of our interview calls. When we talk to people to come to the Rockets, we ask them about their fantasy football strategies.
Come on.
Because it really gives us a sense of how they think. So, yes, I am in fantasy football.
What do you learn from people? Like, are you more apt to hire somebody who does not take a quarterback in the first 4 rounds of their draft? I mean, like, what do you glean from that subject matter?
So in our interview process, and I'll just say this. I think you know this, Rich. Everyone is terrible at interviewing. That's like proven. And so we're just trying to get a little bit less than terrible. Nice. And what I like to do is to hear how people think. So I actually don't care if they take a quarterback in the first round, the 6th. Now, if they take a kicker early, you can just walk out. We can just end the interview. But if they're taking a quarterback, there are ways to explain taking a quarterback early. I think generally it's a bad strategy, but as long as you give a thoughtful answer, we might keep talking if you give a good answer on why.
I don't know if I'd want to be in a fantasy league with one of the top analytical minds in sports. I don't know if I'd want to be in a league with you, Daryl. Who's in your league?
Well, just college, high school, work friends over the years. Yeah, we've been together since '94, maybe something like that. So,
not MIT, Northwestern, is that what you're saying? Or MIT?
Yeah, some MIT, some Northwestern, some work friends, some guys at the Rockets. You know how it is. If you don't play well, though, you're out, man. I'm ruthless. I'm the commissioner. So, like, if you're not keeping up with your team or whatever, we're moving on to someone else.
How are you like a commissioner? More stern than silver, or more silver than stern? What type of commissioner are you?
Commissioner Silver is unbelievable, and I love his style. But I gotta be. I don't have time, so I'm more David Stern. As a guy, just like people are like making suggestions. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. I don't have time. I don't have time to worry about your concerns.
Yeah, I mean. So, okay, just, I guess, last one for you on this. What is your strategy for fantasy? I'm curious, as somebody who uses analytics and knows it as well. What is your strategy?
I can just talk generally. I mean, I like to...
Sort of like the Jimmy Butler trade. I don't want to get you in any trouble. Just talk generally.
Yeah, no. Well, you're not going to get me in trouble. I mean, it's not like my fantasy football strategies or anything anyone should care about. But anyway, I like to early lock in a top receiver in round 1 or 2 because I work the waiver wire a lot, so I usually can snag one of these young running backs that'll emerge later by working the waiver wire. So I want to get one solid running back and one solid receiver in rounds 1 and 2. You can't always do it based on where things lay, but I look there. And then I don't actually usually worry about quarterback till later unless there's a real top one, maybe in round 3, still hanging out there. And then unless I can get a uniquely good defense or tight end, I wait till late there. I usually sit on the handcuffs of teams with great offensive lines. Usually like getting a first or second year guy who's sitting behind a great offensive line and then wait for one of the top running backs to go out. And then, and then you're essentially, usually by the end you're peaking and then you got to get lucky in the playoffs like baseball, basically.
Daryl Morey. And have you won your league? Have you won?
Yeah, I think I've won 4 times. We have good players.
Come on.
Real good players. I wish I had won more than 4 in the 20 whatever
Casually
years.
4
Yeah,
times.
I think I've won fantasy football 4 times. That's like, you know what? I got 20 foul balls when I go to baseball games, and it's like, come on, man. That was very casual. I like that. Man, unbelievable.
We have a good league. I'm sure you're in one too. We might have someone to kick out this year. So if you want to jump
Daryl,
in,
I would do it. If you are kicking anybody out of your league, if you're David Sterning somebody, okay, I'm in. Okay, let me know. But we'll chat much more before then. I really have enjoyed this, and I'm thrilled that we have connected. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, thanks, Rich. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
You got it. That is the reigning NBA Executive of the Year, Daryl Morey.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.